Actually, the reason we came to Kingsport was for my husband to work at Eastman. He had gone to the University of South Carolina, he'd gone to NYU, Illinois, and he did his master's at Georgia Tech. And while he was there, Ed Giff came from Eastman interviewing people to work here, and I had never heard of Kingsport. When we came, I was so impressed by Church Circle with the churches. But we had decided we were not going to just join a church, we'd visit. But when we went to First Broad Street, well, it was Broad Street then, Methodist, on the Circle, the minister, Trig James, welcomed us and knew who we were, and it turned out that Toy's father, who was a minister was in Johnston, South Carolina, had a member come from Kingsport to his church, and he was writing for her letter, and he said, "My son and his wife are going to be up there, and I hope you'll contact them." So as it turned out, we were expected, and we went to a Sunday school class, and Miss Harrison, Johnny had a shoe store here then, was a teacher, and they were having a picnic, and they invited us to come, so we never visited another church, we just stayed there. But one of the things I was so impressed with Church Circle and the fact that the town was centered around churches. Oh, our children went to Mellow Perry. We lived in Colonial Heights, and they went to Mellow Perry. It was a wonderful school. Still is, of course. And we certainly enjoyed that so much. Later, after we came back from South Carolina, they went to city schools. Mark went to Sevier, Toy went to DB, and of course Marjorie had finished high school. She was in Furman at that point. So we've had an experience with both the county and the city, and they were all very good experiences. Well, Kingsport is certainly known for its volunteer spirit. It's an amazing place, and all of the people seem to be very willing to help in any capacity. The things that I have to say the Junior League has been a real strong influence in Kingsport. And when I became a member of the League, at that time, your main service was either at the hospital or at somewhere like that, and I chose the Palmer Center. And it was a wonderful experience too. Mrs. Ottenfeld was the speech therapist, and she was remarkable. And I worked with her, and then I also worked with Jean Tokars and some other people through the years, but that was a wonderful experience. People used to say, "Doesn't that depress you to be working there where those children are handicapped?" And I said, "No, it inspires me, because they are so amazing. Those children are so amazing with their limitations, with their gratitude, with their eagerness to learn." It was a wonderful experience. I also enjoyed being one of the first contact workers, contact concern, and that was a real wonderful experience for the people who did it and for the people who were served by that. And there were several incidences. One, when someone was threatening suicide, and I wondered what I would do if that happened. And it was worked out because there were two workers there, and one could call and try to contact people while the other one was keeping the person on the line. And so after that, I knew I'd be all right no matter what the call was. That was the one I had dreaded. Of course, probably the thing I've enjoyed most is my work at the church. And when we came back from South Carolina, I felt that it was time maybe that I led a Bible study. So I started one then. And that was in about 1970. So since that time, I've had a Bible study, led one on Monday mornings at the church. And still am leading it, except it doesn't meet in the summertime. But that's been one of my best experiences. And then I'm still singing the choir, which I enjoy very much. And I've been on various committees and teach Sunday school and that sort of thing at the church. The Junior League, at the time I joined, the year before had just become national, and it was been Junior Service League or something before. And they were just a remarkable group of people who could get things done so well. In fact, my husband once said that they could almost run the city because they did things so well. Then, when we moved to South Carolina and I became a sustainer, the people down, and I hate to say this about Columbia, which was my hometown more or less, but it was more a social group down there. It was not this community help that the Junior League was here. And so I was very, very proud of the Kingsport Junior League. Toy came here to work in research and development and, in 1948, and he was there for some time, and then he went to the CE division. It was one well, not exactly interesting, but one dramatic thing that I remember so clearly was the explosion in 1960, which that was a time when the whole community came together to help those who were injured, and that was a very, very dramatic time, of course. At that time, he had moved over to Building 75, and I really didn't know where he was working, so that was I was very anxious till I actually heard from him to know that he was all right at that time. Then after that, he was at the CE division, and he also one time was out at Holston Ordnance as his assistant manager. And then we moved to South Carolina when he built the Carolina Eastman plant, and that was a really great time, but we were there just a short time. Came back, and Harry McNeely was the general manager. In those days, of course, it was the Eastman Chemical Division. It was the Tennessee Eastman Company here, but it was a chemical division of Eastman Kodak, and so he spent time in Rochester too. And that was, let's see, it was 1979 to 1989 that he was in charge of the various plants. We had a lot of interesting times in England and various other places. And one interesting thing, or one good thing that I think that he instigated when he was in charge there was asking for Eastman to be annexed to the city so that they had to pay city taxes, and that made a big difference because they did not have to do that, but they did, and that was a very good thing. But it was the people that he loved, and that's why it's so special that they named the Employee Center for him, and before he died. And because the people were the things that he really loved most about Eastman and really enjoyed. Well, I think that I would suggest to the next generation that they look to the future also and don't get stuck in what's going on today, but at the same time work at what's going on today, but plan ahead and know that time passes very quickly and they need to be prepared for what comes next. And certainly to continue doing what they're doing, because I think the people who are in charge are doing a good job. Well, the region certainly is going to need to work together on health care. That's going to be the big thing right now, because with the idea of the merging of perhaps Mountain States and Wellmont, we don't know exactly what's going to happen, but with all of this, it will need to bring the whole region closer together. There will need to be cooperation, not competition, and I'm sure that will be the case, but because the people who are working on it will see that that's done. But I think that is probably the most important thing in this time. Well, certainly Kingsport was an ideal place to have children grow up and continues to be that. And as a proof of that, my children, son and his wife and their 2 children are coming back here to live after being away for a long time. The whole atmosphere of the churches, the religious, well, the Christian values and the things that are so important in rearing children was certainly very much evident in Kingsport and still continue to be. And as I said originally, the church circle, just having the churches there, the spires, is a symbol of whom we depend upon and who will help us to rear our children. is so important, and I'm so thankful that we've lived in a community like that, and it will continue to be like that.